planners and bullet journals, art projects, organized planner chic.
Well, hello planner babes, and welcome to Organized Planner Chic. I'm Lucinda, and if you haven't subscribed already, please do so and select the bell for notifications. Well, first, I want to thank all my Patreon members who help make it possible to create videos like this. Well, thank you guys so much, and if you're interested in supporting me on Patreon, just go to patreon.com/organizedplannerchic. Well, you guys, since this series that we're doing right now is all about spring, I thought I'd share with you excerpts from my garden in each video. So we're looking at my herb garden right now. You're looking at my basil, and to the left of that was my mint, and now we're looking at the peppermint. And then we're looking at the curly parsley, which is delicious. And under that, we've got the sage. Yeah, so I'll show you more of my garden next time. Well, first, before that, I want to thank so much Emerging Green for sponsoring this series and for blessing me with these amazing garden clogs. I love them so much. They're so comfortable and eco-friendly. This is the same company that sent me the 3 notebooks that are recycled paper, which I gave away one in a previous video. Aren't these just adorable, you guys? And I'm going to give you the coupon code across the screen and the links in the description for where you can get these awesome clogs at a discount. Okay, you guys, so right here is one of the notebooks that I got from Emerging Green in the set of 3, but I doodled the art that's on the cover there. And what we're going to make today is a cover for this notebook. So we're going to start with the paper bag. I already cut mine down to size, but what you're going to do is just measure it around whatever journal or notebook or traveler's notebook or bullet journal, whatever you're using that you want to cover, and then you're going to add about 6 inches to that length. That way you can have pockets on both sides. You'll have 3-inch width pockets on the front and on the back. And then you're just going to have a little bit of excess that you can fold all the way around so that all of the edges look really neat and clean. It's going to make such a difference. Now, off camera, I flipped all of my folds because I'm going to paint this, and I wasn't sure if the paint would cover up all the print, so I wanted the print to be in the inside if that didn't work. So all I'm doing right now is lining up the edges on the right so that I can get a really good crease on the left that will be the center of this cover. And that's going to be important here in a little bit whenever we do some reinforcing. And then I'm just taking my bone folder, but you can use some scissors or like the handle of a butter knife or a pen or pencil to smooth out all of those folds. Now, on other projects where I've used a paper bag, I used a lot of Mod Podge, but I'm only going to use that on the outside. Well, you'll see what I mean when we get to that point. But I'm going to use just masking tape to tape all the way around. And this project might remind you a little bit of high school and covering your textbooks, but I'm going to be doing a whole lot more taping, and you'll see as we go along. So we're just going to take the masking tape and tape all of the edges down really smoothly, and that's going to make such a difference when we get started painting. Yes, and you don't want to use any other type of tape for this. No clear tape, nothing with a smooth surface, because that may not work with the paint. But this masking tape is perfect because it is porous and the paint will adhere to it very, very well. So yeah, we're just going to tape all of the sides here. You don't have to worry about the folds on the inside being perfect, but you do want to make sure that all of the folds are even all the way around, which is so easy when you folded it in half. Yeah, so now we're going to take the masking tape and that center fold. So if you can't clearly see that center fold, then just fold it again with your bone folder or pen or what have you, and then take a ruler and a pencil and mark where you folded it, because that's going to be important here. So we're taking the masking tape and we're putting it on each side of the fold. And then after we have tape on both sides of the fold, then we're going to take another strip of tape and put it right down the very middle. And that way we really reinforce the spine on the inside. We're going to do it on the outside as well a little bit later. I meant to do it now, but I forgot, so I did it later. And so now you're going to reinforce, or you're going to put pressure on that spine again, now that the tape is on there that kind of buckled it up a little bit. And so we're just going to smooth that down now. And now all of that is taped, so now we're going to fold in our sides at 3 inches on each side, and we're going to just make sure, I had already folded mine, but now that it's had tape and everything, I want to make sure it's correct, and that on the inside of that, where the opening is going to be in the pocket, that everything is straight, so that it'll look really nice and neat when we're all done. So yes, I'm taking my bone folder again and smoothing that out. And now I'm going to take the masking tape again here to fold the pockets. And I'm going to align that tape horizontally about halfway down the tape. I hope that makes sense. You'll see when we fold it over. And then I'm going to cut this excess, and then I'm going to fold it over so that I have about the same amount of tape on the top and the bottom, on each side rather. And then it'll look really neat. And of course I did that all the way around on all 4 sides of the pocket, the tops and the bottoms. And now I'm just going to double check and make sure that my notebook fits inside the cover. You want to be sure and do that before you start painting. You've done all that work and then you have to take something apart again, because nobody wants to do that. Okay, and now what we're going to do is reinforce the outside, and we're going to put some tape on both sides of the crease, and then we're going to put another piece in the very middle, and we're going to trim the excess. And this time I had it go extend across the top and the bottom, so I'm going to cut the excess off the top and the bottom. Now, because a paper bag is actually multiple pieces of paper that have been glued together, then we're going to add some masking tape also wherever we see that, those places where you see like 2 pieces have come up against each other on the paper bag. And you can kind of see those pretty easily if you look for them. It's just where you can see like a little teeny tiny gap or coming together of the paper. And then I just take my bone folder and smooth that out. And you may not catch all of them. I'm sure I didn't catch some probably in the inside. But then you're just going to tape that and then cut the excess. And that's just going to help make sure that it all stays together, that pieces don't pop up later on after use, and that everything is just pretty strong with all of the tape around there. Of course, a paper bag is the grocery paper bags are pretty strong as well, the big ones, which is what I'm using here. And now that is all taped up and we can start painting. So I'm using some Goodwill paint that I've had for a really long time, and it turned out to be nice and opaque. So I wound up using 2 coats. It did pretty well with just 1 coat, but I could still see the masking tape some, so I did 2 coats in the end. And it was pretty matte, but it's going to be shiny later. And so now I wanted to use this Dollar Tree jumbo sticker set that I got recently in a haul on something, and I thought this would be perfect. I'm going for blues and greens for this project, so I put one of them at the top and just tried to center it and let there be a little bit of overlay. And then I'm going to put one right underneath that one, and then I'm just going to fold the excess inside. And I just thought that would be nice to decorate the spine and incorporate the colors that I'm going for, and maybe even give it even more strength. Since I'm not adding any glue all the way around yet at this point, and I'm not using any fabric and I'm not using any additional paper. I just thought that would be good. And so now I'm just smoothing that all out with the bone folder, and then I'm going to fold into that crease for the center again, and then smooth it out some more with the bone folder, just to help everything lay down a little bit better as I work with it, because it becomes bulky because I've got 2 different layers of stickers on it. So yeah, I'm just going to smooth that out as best I can with my bone folder, which, you know, I love to use my bone folder. It's just therapeutic to me, smoothing stuff out. Okay, and so then I'm going to put 2 more on the inside, and I'm just layering that a little bit differently so I can still see the parts that I folded over before, and then I'm just smoothing that out. And now I'm going to cut out a bunch of flowers and stems and petals from a giant Dollar Tree gift bag that I had in the same recent haul, and I'm going for blues and greens, so I'm just cutting out all of the blues and greens that I think I want to use for this. And it's mostly blue on this bag. I'm going to actually go to a different bag to get some greens, because there aren't very many here. And I'm also getting some white, because I feel like splashes of white really bring out the 2 colors when you're using 2 colors. I almost feel like you really need 3 colors when you're working with something, and white is my favorite 3rd color. So I'm cutting out some white flowers as well. And then I'm just going to be layering those around, trying to see where I think I want them to be here in just a moment. But first, I found a wealth of blue and white flowers and petals on the side of this bag. So anytime you're crafting with a gift bag, then be sure and check out the side, because this is definitely going to work. And now this is the other bag that I mentioned that I'm going to cut out some greenery, because there's just a lot more green on this, and I think that's going to work out nicely. So now I have cut out all the pieces, and I haven't glued anything yet, but I'm using my cell phone to take a picture of how I laid everything out so that I can recreate that when I glue them. Now I'm kind of moving slow here because I know that I'm going to have multiple layers, and I wanted to see which layer I'm going to need to glue first, so that everything turns out the way that I wanted. So I think I got that all figured out. And now I'm just going to start with this set first. I'm using some Mod Podge and a matte finish that I've had for a long time, and just to put the petals, or put each piece down first before I glue on top of all of them. And I didn't use as much Mod Podge as I could have when I first started. Like on this piece, I was being a little too conservative, and so it was harder to get each petal to lay down. But the more I worked with it, the better I got at putting more glue to begin with, especially on the back. And so I'm just taking my bone folder to smooth out all of the pieces and adding little pieces of glue here and there, because again, I didn't start off with enough glue to lay all of these pieces down, but it's all going to come together anyway. So now I've glued each piece down, and now I'm just going to take some Mod Podge in a glossy finish and put it all over the top of everything on the front side. Yeah, and I'm just taking my time and smoothing that all out, and it's just going to give a balanced finish, because the paint was very matte, but there was a little bit of gloss, even though that was a matte finish Mod Podge that I used to glue the pieces. And so now this glossy finish just makes everything look the same in terms of finishes. And now I'm cutting, I already cut around, I didn't cut them completely out, these other pieces from the bag on the side, and I'm just figuring out how I want to lay them, because I was started off with 6 pieces, but I figured out that 5 just looks better. And so then I'm using my tiny Dollar Tree scissors to cut out each piece in full. And that's the same thing that I did on the front. Yeah, and now I'm just using a lot more Mod Podge to put each individual piece down. And I want to tell you to be really careful with the really skinny stems, because I ripped one of them at the end, but it worked out because I had Mod Podge and I was just able to glue it back in there. And now of course I'm using the Mod Podge to put on the top of all of that. Now I am making my pin loops, and so I was just kind of referencing another project that I did in a different video to see how much paper I needed to trim. So this paper is from the handles of the paper bag, the grocery bag, and now I'm just cutting the second piece to match the same size to make 2 pin loops. Yeah, and so you don't have to use a reference like I did of a previous project. Just use whatever pin you're going to use to measure what you think you'll need. And now I am mixing some Dollar Tree tempera paint, which is what I intended to use, but I didn't realize it was tempera and not acrylic. So I'm mixing that with some very old acrylic paint that I had that's all chunky. And so the liquidity of the I don't know if I said that word right, but because the tempera paint is very liquid, it helped loosen up the thickness of the old acrylic, and then that worked out just fine. So I am painting these strips. I started off with that tempera and that blue, and it was just too watery. So I'm going back over it with this, and I wind up using, I think, 3 coats before that was done. So while it's drying, I'm getting ready to add beads. And off camera, I already put in the elastic for this being a traveler's notebook, because again, I want to be able to use this cover for anything, not just this notebook, but also for a bullet journal or for traveler's notebook inserts. And I already put the elastic in for that, for holding inserts, and I will link for you guys in the description my video that I always use, that I created some time ago. It's only a couple of minutes, that shows you how to create the holes and how to put the thread or thread the elastic for your traveler's notebook. And so what I did here is I tuck the elastic. This is some old Dollar Tree elastic. I tucked it under the 2 elastics on the outside at the top for this, and then I just tied a couple of knots to hold it. I wish I had not done it that way. Normally I hook a lobster claw clasp tassel or pom-pom or something, and then I take the elastic through the O-ring of that lobster claw clasp, because it gives me space between the cover and the beads, and then I don't have to try to move the beads out the way to flatten the notebook while I'm using it, just to make it, completely flat on the table. But I didn't think about that this time for some reason. But anyway, this works no matter what, and especially works if you don't have something with a lobster claw clasp. Now I'm putting the beads in there from Dollar Tree, and I totally forgot I wanted to have some white beads in between. So at the end of this process, you'll see that I've added the white beads. I had to take it all apart and redo it, but I wanted you to see how I did it. So at the end, I take the last bead and I run the elastic back through it again, and then I tie a double knot at the bottom of the bead. Now I had a little bit of trouble because I didn't leave quite enough extra elastic at the bottom like I normally do, and one of my nails broke, and that seems to help. Nails seem to help with this process, but I was able to get the double knot there. And so of course I did the same thing on the other side. I just alternated the blue and the green, and then I added the white on there. Okay, and now I'm going to add a lobster claw clasp. I don't know why I didn't do that earlier on the back here to make it look even cuter, y'all. It looks cuter. So now I need to add my pin loops. So I'm going to bring those out, and you see me fiddling with that because I'm like, those beads are in the way. Okay, so now I've got my pin loops, and you can either put Mod Podge, because this is so matte, you can either put Mod Podge all over the front, let it dry, and all over the back and let it dry first, Or you can do what I'm doing right here. I just put some Mod Podge in the inside. I'm using my other project there underneath as a reference. Again, you don't have to do that. I just did because I could. You just use your pen and measure where you want it to go and how high your pen is going to stand. And so I put the Mod Podge in there and just squeezed it to secure the top and the bottom and leave my little opening for my pen loop. And then I'm putting Mod Podge all over the top and the bottom, and I put Mod Podge along the sides as well to make sure everything holds together very well and to give me a little glossy finish. And then I put some Mod Podge on there to glue it up against the pocket for my pen loop. And then here in a moment, I'm going to just take my hand and put pressure on there. It's going to look like I only did it for like 3 seconds or less, but I actually did it for like almost 30 seconds. And then now I'm just adding Mod Podge all around the edges to make sure everything stays securely like I want it to. And then I'm just rubbing the excess with my finger. And then of course I'm going to do the same thing on the other pen loop that's just waiting there to be done. So I'm just going to wipe that excess off of there, and then I've got 2 pen loops that just need to dry for a little bit, and once they're dry then we are good to go. I'm just kind of shaping that bottom pen loop because it was a little stiff, and then we're just ready to put pins in there and get going. Well, there it is, you guys. I am really happy with it. As I was working with this project, I wasn't sure if I was gonna like it, but in the end, I do love it. Now we are going to decorate the inside more. Yes, we are. We're gonna change it up a little bit in a separate video, and yes, we're gonna have stuff to do in there. I'm excited about that. So I'm going to just make sure, even though I know that it should fit, I'm just going to put it all together now. So I'm going to put the cover, the left side right in there, and I don't know why we're still looking at this right now. I'm sorry, it's a little slow on this part of the video, but we're just going to tuck the cover inside there on the left, and then we'll tuck it there on the right. And for some reason I always am nervous when I put the other side in. I don't know why. I'm not nervous when I'm checking it as I'm working on the project, but once I'm done, I think maybe I'm just afraid that I will have messed something up and then it's going to come apart. I don't know, but I'm always all nervous, and it takes me forever to get this back cover in there. But I know it fits because we checked before we painted anything. So it's all good. Yeah, and then we can just close it up and see how it looks. And I'm amazed that it works well with that spiral, but it really does, you guys. I love it. I just love it. I'm so surprised at how well it turned out. Now, I mean, I envisioned it would turn out well. I'm not saying that, but I'm just happy with it. Well, you guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe and comment and share. It really helps my channel a lot. It tells YouTube's algorithm to recommend this video for people to watch it, you guys. So I so appreciate your help and your support for my channel. Also, you guys, I have an Instagram if you haven't checked it out yet. It's at Organized Planner Chic, and there I post all of my creative ventures and adventures. I also have 2 Facebook groups. The one for anyone around the world is Organized Planner Chic Crew, and there we do giveaways. In fact, we'll have a giveaway at the end of this month, and we post just about every day with all different types of posts. I also have a local group called Phoenix Planner Friends for Christ, and if you live in the Phoenix Metro, be sure and check us out there. And if you're interested in supporting me on Patreon, just go to patreon.com/organizedplannerchic. And until next time, everyone, happy planning!